Join me today while I show you how to make peanut butter sandwich cookies. You're not going to want to miss what's in the filling. Hello friends and welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Andrea and this is Dessert First. Today I'm going to show you how to make a peanut butter sandwich cookie. So I'm going to use my mom's peanut butter cookie recipe and then I'm going to make a filling that has just a hint of hazelnut flavor to it. So think of peanut butter and Nutella coming together. So that's what we're going to make today. So let's get started. All right, so let's get started with our peanut butter sandwich cookies. So in my mixer, I'm going to add 1 stick of room temperature butter. And then I'm also going to add a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. And then a 1/2 cup of light brown sugar that I've just firmly packed. Just enough so that it holds its shape when I dump it in there. So we're going to just kind of get this cream together a little bit first. All right, now we're going to add some vanilla. And we're just going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And then 1 large egg, a whole egg. All right. And that has thinned down quite a bit. So I'm just going to scrape down the bowl. Just to make sure that it's all mixed up on the underneath. And now we're going to add 1 cup of creamy peanut butter. And for the sandwich cookies, you want to use creamy peanut butter because the peanuts can tend to kind of cause your cookie to break apart. So we don't want our cookies falling apart. And now we're going to add 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to add the first cup in while mixing it up. And then I dumped the 1/2 cup into my whole cup. So I can add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then I'm going to mix it up. Now you could mix your dry ingredients into a bowl, and I'll do that for cakes, especially if I'm needing to like add a little bit with the liquid, alternating it. But for this, I'm just gonna skip dirtying up a bowl and just do it this way. So I'm just gonna add that. simple is that? So we're just going to clean this off. Now, since we're making these sandwich cookies, I want to make them a little bit thinner than a normal peanut butter cookie. So I'm going to use my medium scoop for this. For sandwich cookies, you really want your cookies to be as close to the same size as possible. That way when you're matching them up, you know, you have a nice, you know, you don't have a little cookie and a big cookie. So you just want it to look pretty good. So we're just going to scoop these onto my sheet tray. And they're not big spreaders, too much anyway. So and I just have a piece of parchment paper on my baking sheet. And if you think it looks weird, it's because I baked some other cookies on it just a little bit ago. And I didn't want to waste a piece of parchment. Now, if you are baking for someone who might have allergies to certain ingredients like nuts, especially nuts, you would not want to reuse your parchment paper. So if I were making something else after this, I would just throw this parchment paper away because it's been contaminated now with peanuts. So anyone who might have a peanut allergy. But when I do my Christmas baking, I don't swap out a new piece of parchment for every tray I put in. So since I want to make these into sandwich cookies, I want to press them. So typically with a peanut butter cookie, the traditional way would be to take a fork, dip it in some sugar, and then just do a cross section. But they won't get quite flat enough for what I want to use them for. So I'm going to take this is a glass. Be very careful using glass. You want to use, if you're going to use glass, because you don't have anything that's metal that has a nice flat round bottom, use something that's really heavy. If you use a thin glass and you ding it on something, you risk breaking it and then contaminating, you know, your cookies and cutting yourself. So this is a very heavy bottom glass, so it's the only reason why I'm going to use it. And we got to get this going here. Once it gets, there we go. So you can kind of see, probably going to have to dip it every time. So the cookies themselves are fairly, and I just have a dish with some just regular granulated sugar in it. Once you get the first one or two, then you've got enough sugar built up, because the peanut butter is kind of oily, so you'll have kind of a stickiness on your glass there, on the bottom. I mean, growing up, Mom always used a a glass or a cup to smash cookies, but it was usually metal. Back in the 70s, you know, we had a lot of those metal cups, you know, that have the different colors. I think I've seen them kind of trending again, so. Everything seems to come back around. I would like to leave our 80s hairdos though in the past. Do not want to go back to big hair. All right, so there's our first tray. So I'm going to pop those in the oven and then I'll get the rest of them baked off. And we'll cool these down and then we'll make the filling that's going to go in between them. Our cookies have baked and cooled down, and then I've gone ahead and kind of just paired them up based on size. And you can see my last batch is a little more done than my other two batches. So even though we scooped them, when you smash them out, they're going to tend to bake a little different. So I just match them up to get them as close to the same size as possible together. So in my bowl, I've got 1 stick of room temperature butter, and then I'm going to add 2 cups of powdered sugar, and I'm going to sift the powdered sugar because mine is a little lumpy. Okay. So we are going to just start to mix this up. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. We're just going to scrape down the bowl. And then for our special ingredient for our filling, I am adding 1/4 cup of hazelnut spread. So whatever brand that you would like, I just find that the hazelnut spread and peanut butter go really well together. Although it's more chocolate than it is hazelnut, but it's still delicious. So 1/4 cup, and then we will adjust our powdered sugar amount once we get this mixed together. to add about a half of a cup more of powdered sugar. It's not really that it needs to be any thicker, maybe just slightly, but I'm going to add a little bit more just so I can add a little bit more cream. And then I'm going to just whip it. Okay. So that heavy cream was just 1 more tablespoon for a total of 2 tablespoons and 2.5 cups of powdered sugar total. And then I just whipped it on high for about a minute. So that is a good consistency. So I'm going to use just an offset spatula, just a little one here, to fill with. So we're just going to take you won't need a lot, so it smells like so. And there you have it. So let's just stack some of these on our plate. Go. And there you have our peanut butter sandwich cookies. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Join me again next week while we dig into another one. Until next time, friends.